Hello and welcome to Glendale Today. I'm Mayor Jerry Weiers. On this episode of Glendale Today, I'd like to take the opportunity to share with you an organization and a cause that's very important to me, which is the Shriners, and the work they do to help children in need. With me today I have Ed Stolze from the local Zaribah Shriners, who will share with us the history of the organization, who the Shriners are, and how they serve our community. Thank you, Ed, for being here today. Let's begin with sharing with the audience the history of the Shriners organization. Ed, can you tell us who the Shriners are?
Thank you, Mayor. The Shriners are a group of Freemasons. It started approximately 1870 in a group of 12 men in the Knickerbocker Cottage in New York City. They gathered on a regular basis, and around 1870 they decided they wanted to start an organization that revolved around or centered around fun and fellowship instead of ritual. So in 1872 they had their first meeting as Shriners of North America at that time, which is now known as Shriners International.
And for these folks watching that aren't familiar with Masonic order, can you tell us what the relationship is between the Masons and being a Shriner?
Freemasonry is one of the oldest and longest standing fraternities in the world. It started centuries ago with stonemasons and craft masons who would gather in what was referred to as lodges or houses for meetings. That evolved around meetings, and instead of talking about masonry and their craft, they actually centered around the fraternity itself. That started Freemasons around the world. There's currently over 8 million Freemasons around the world. Some of those are Shriners. All Shriners are Masons, but not all Masons are Shriners.
And how many local shrine organizations are there?
There are currently 2 shrine organizations here in Arizona, but there's 195 shrine centers across the world. They're in Germany, US, Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Republic of Panama, and Philippines.
Wow. Later in the show we will talk specifically about the local shrine organization that we are members of, but generally speaking, how does one become a Shriner?
Once you become a Freemason or a Master Mason, in Masonry you go through several degrees. Once you become a 3rd degree or Master Mason, then you can request to become a Shriner.
And now that we've talked a little bit about the Freemasons, which are a fraternal organization, so women can be Shriners as well?
Although Shriners International is known as a men's fraternity, all of our families and spouses are fully involved with everything we do as Shriners. There's also 2 organizations within the Shrine that are specifically for women, Ladies of the Oriental Shrine and Daughters of the Nile. And the only current prerequisite for that is if you have a relative through birth, adoption, any relative, any distant relative that is either a Mason or a Shriner, a lady can apply to become a Ladies Oriental Shrine or a Daughters of the Nile.
Can you share with us some benefits of being a Shriner, and why would someone want to become a Shriner?
The biggest privilege of being a Shriner is the support of our philanthropy, which we call the greatest philanthropy in the world, and that's Shriners Hospitals for Children. Outside of that, we do involve our families, our ladies and spouses in different events, different fraternal events, as well as civic and community events.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Shriners Hospitals, as that is really at the core of what we do as Shriners. And we'll discuss that in a little bit more detail, but I have just one more question about some of the symbols that folks may identify with the Shriners that I wanted to ask you about. For many people, they identify the Shriners with that little red hat. Can you tell us about that little red hat? And there it is.
The little red hat, or otherwise what is known as a fez, was adopted by Shriners Headquarters or Shriners International in 1872. The 2 individuals who started the Shrine, one was a doctor and the other one was an actor-playwright. The actor-playwright had just come back from Northern Africa, Morocco to be exact, doing a play. And while he was there, he saw the fez, which is the representative hat of Fez, Morocco. So it was actually adopted as part of our ritual and part of our outfit. Most importantly, it's our advertising tool. This is what we wear to all events, to all meetings, to all civic and community events, and it represents not only Shriners International and Shriners Hospitals for Children, but as you can see, it also represents certain positions within the Shrine or the organization. The potentate or the Chairman of the board of every local shrine center is known as the potentate. And this is the potentate's fez right here.
Basically the mayor of the Shriners, that particular.
That's correct.
Okay. Now that we've covered the history and overview of the Shriners organization, let's talk a little bit about the local chapter and the work that we do for this community.
Zaribah Shrine was actually started in 1896, actually as a territorial shrine at that time, and originally met in what was known there as originally as the Berry Hill building, which is now part of the Capitol Mall. We then moved to another building, and until the 1970s we're in a building just off of 15th Avenue in Washington. In 1989 we moved to the new location at 552 North 40th Street. We have approximately 2,000 Shriners here in the local area, many of which are from right here in Glendale. And then there's a Sabar Temple in Tucson, which covers from Casa Grande south.
Let's talk a little bit about the work that Zaribah Shriners do for the Shriners hospitals. Can you tell us more about that program?
From 1872, when the shrine started, till 1920, our main mission was fun and fellowship as Freemasons. In 1920, it was the height of the polio epidemic. And at that time, Shriners were looking for a philanthropy. And so in 1922, we opened our first hospital in Shreveport, Louisiana. We now have 22 hospitals throughout the US, Canada, Mexico, 19 in the contiguous United States, 1 in Toronto, Canada, 1 in Mexico, and 1 in Hawaii.
You provided us a great overview of the Shriners Hospitals for Children, which is really at the core of what Shriners do and why we do what we do. I'd like to talk more about this particular program. I think the first question viewers at home may ask, is there any of those 22 hospitals you just mentioned right here in Glendale or in the greater valley of Phoenix?
Unfortunately not. The closest hospital, the 2 closest hospitals to us are Los Angeles hospitals and the Intermountain Hospital in Salt Lake City. We also send children or patients to the Northern California Hospital in Sacramento.
I see. And then one other thing, the Shriners do actually utilize a local hospital here in the valley. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. We do clinics almost once a month where Salt Lake City, Sacramento, or Los Angeles hospitals actually come down and do clinics right here locally. It's at the county hospital, which is actually just south of Zaribah Shrine. All of our children, we here in Phoenix take care of approximately 2,700 kids, several hundred of which are from right here in Glendale. And they attend clinics here, as well as we transport them to Salt Lake City, Sacramento, or Los Angeles.
Okay, and then I understand I'm going a little bit off script here, but also understand that there's some telemedicine that's done in order to try to save cost and get that help possibly quicker and save a lot of expense as far as transporting that child or the child and the parent to one of the hospitals. You talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. In the Shrine Center itself, we have a telemedicine unit as well as a doctor and staff that man that unit. So almost every day of the week we have a patient down there that's being seen by a doctor in either LA, Salt Lake, Sacramento, or one of our other specialty hospitals. They can actually take a look at the child. We've got video cameras, we've got gait walking maps where the child actually can walk on a mat and the doctor on the other end can actually see where the weight balance is when the child is walking and so forth.
Now, literally, you say the other end, this could be in Denver or it could be at any of the Shriners
It could
hospitals.
be in Toronto, it could be in Mexico City, it could be anywhere in the world.
And that's a specialist that understands that particular type of ailment or whatever the issue could be for that child.
Yes.
It's amazing. Are all the patients that you help just Arizona residents?
No, we actually have the 2,700 kids locally that we take care of. Now, Shriners International or Shriners Hospitals for Children is actually taking care of over 1 million children. We right here in Phoenix, each Shrine Center is responsible for the transportation of their children to the different hospitals. We're currently covering 2,700 kids from the Arizona area as well as northern Mexico.
I see. We talked a little bit earlier about some of the state-of-the-art stuff that they're doing. Can you tell me a little bit how the Shriners manage to offer medical services at no cost to the children's families while maintaining such an incredibly high quality of care?
All through philanthropic work. Shriners across the world do fundraising, as well as we do have a large trust that we've built up since 1922. So we use some of that trust, but most of it comes from donations and from the hard work of the Shriners around the world that raise money to actually provide services. Our hospitals cost us approximately $2.7 million a day to operate. So
A day.
a day. So there's a lot of need for money to support those hospitals. We've obviously cut costs since the economy did a downturn, but at the same time, we're still providing the best care that we can for these children. And as I said, each Shrine Center provides the transportation for all of their children to the hospitals. So El Zaribah alone spends somewhere between $25,000 and $2,700 a month just providing transportation to our kids to those hospitals.
$25,000 to $27,000.
$25,000 to $27,000 a month.
Okay. Again, going a little bit off script, almost consistently, if not daily, it seemed like every other day, somebody approaches me and say, hey, I know that you're involved with the Shriners, and I just want to thank you for something that you've done for my niece or my grandson, in some cases for my husband, for my wife, things that Shriners did years and years ago. And it's I guess it's a little selfishness in one sense that we get the opportunity to help people, and the incredible feeling that you get from that. At the same time, one of the best gifts that I could ever think of myself is when somebody allows me the opportunity to help. And I know you feel the same way. It's really quite inspiring for someone to say, I need help. I need help. And in the Shriners, virtually everybody that I know is there for these children, and it's really a great feeling.
Absolutely. You only have to see one child. My first trip to the Los Angeles hospital, I was standing inside the waiting room with the chief administrator, and in came a young child about 10 years old. He saw me in my fez and came up and ran up to me and gave me a big hug, and didn't know me from Adam, but because of the fez, he knew who I was and what I was. And when he walked off, the chief administrator looked at me and said the young man was coming in for his 14th surgery. Right. And I'm sitting here going, how can a child who's coming in for his 14th surgery, which obviously can't be fun, could have such a large smile on his face and give me a hug? And it's really because of the care that they get at the hospitals, but most importantly, it's because of all the caring and work that the Shriners do around the world to support these kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing all that background, Ed. I think a lot of people will be impressed to learn just how influential the research and education of the Shriners hospitals are within the medical care field. For those folks at home watching who may know of a child that is in need of help, is there a specific criteria that one must meet to qualify for medical care through the Shriners?
Not really. Shriners Hospitals for Children take care of almost every orthopedic malady you can think of, everything from cerebral palsy, spina bifida, to bone deformations, congenital deformities, amputations. We also do maxillofacial work such as cleft lip and palate. We do awful lot of plastics, such as ear replacements, handwork, footwork, prosthetics, and we're now doing spinal cord injuries and brain injuries, and we also have 3 major burn centers, one in Sacramento, one in Galveston, and one in Boston, that actually take care of acute burns. If you remember last year, or actually a little over a year ago, when the Hermosillo preschool fire happened, 11 of those kids were flown to Sacramento to be taken care of, and are now still within the system for burn reconstruction. Any child who has a problem can apply to Shriners Hospitals for Children. It's a very easy process. And Shriners Hospitals for Children will actually look at the malady that the child has, review all of the medical information they can come up with, and then they look at what we serve and what services that we can provide. And if there's any service we can provide, we will take care of that child.
Well, if anyone's watching that knows a child that needs treatment for any of those conditions that you mentioned, I'm sure that there's others also, who would they contact?
They can contact any Shriner if they know one, or they can go to El Zaribah's website, which is www.el-zaribah.org, or they can call 602-231-0300, ask for the hospital office, and they can help you. At the same time, there's an international website. It's www.shrinershospitalforchildren.org. And the actual paperwork to apply to a hospital is on there. When you apply, it sends the information to the nearest hospital to wherever you're located. And within 2 to 3 weeks, you will be contacted, or even sooner if it's an acute situation, you'll be contacted by the hospital to either attend a clinic or a telemedicine to review and set up to take care of the child. At the same time, we also take referrals from doctors locally as well as hospitals.
Yeah, and there's you know, a lot of neat stories, and you know, when I got involved, one of the little gals that literally wrapped me around her finger, she's really got a special place in my heart, and Sarah. I know you know Sarah, but she has had so many difficulties, and yet every time I see her, she's got the biggest smile on her face, and it literally just it makes you understand just how insignificant some things are in this world, and how incredible some other things are. But with that, now we've covered the important services and the care that the Shriners hospitals provide. Talk a little bit about fundraisers and events that our local organization puts on to raise money for these kids. And I have to start by mentioning one event that I personally enjoy putting on every year to benefit the Shriners, which is the Shriners Bowling Palooza. An event that we just had last month in the middle of March, right here in Glendale. In fact, it was the 7th annual one that we've had. And I know you'll agree that we have an awful lot of fun, probably too much fun. Can you tell me how much we've raised this year to help the kids?
So far this year, we've raised somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 that have gone directly to the Transportation Fund or to Shriners Hospitals for Children. Our current goal this year is a little over $250,000 to raise for transporting and taking care of the kids at the hospitals. And the different events, obviously Bowling Palooza is one of our biggest ones. We have an awful lot of fun there, and we truly appreciate all the help that you've done for us in pulling that off for the 7th straight year. We also have Golf Classics, Corn Fest, which is a craft show that we do every year where we bring in over 150 craft booths. We also have CIF barbecues on a regular basis where it's all open to the public.
Now, what is CIF?
CIF stands for Capital Improvement Fund.
Okay.
So it's to raise money to help us keep the doors of our Shrine Center open. But we provide barbecues. Springtime we have a beef barbecue, and in the fall we're going to have a pork barbecue. As well as this year out at Westworld we'll have the Shrine Circus again. We've done that for approximately 50 straight years. And then we do other different community events, parades, openings, things like that.
Well, I think the parades are something that, besides the circus, I think the parades very quickly, when somebody says something to me about being a Shriner, usually they say, are you one of those guys that wears the funny hat or drives the little car? And usually my response is, yeah, I wear the funny hat, but I actually ride a motorcycle with the parade unit. And that's probably the coolest thing about the Shriners is they have so many different areas that people can kind of fall into. You know, I happen to like to ride the motorcycle, so I do that. And I know that they have a mounted unit where people that actually ride horses. I know they have an RV group where people that really like to do RV stuff. And I don't even know how many units there are, but I know there's quite a few. And it seems like there's always somebody coming up with a new idea. I think probably the most recent one I can think of is the group that is kind of the younger guys that do the electronics, kind of take a 24-hour, maybe it's even longer than that, where they actually go down there and they do gaming for solid hours at a time, which an old guy like me probably wouldn't get into that, but the younger guys seem to really enjoy that, and they do real well with it, and they use it as a fundraiser tool, obviously to help the children. So everybody's able to turn their passion and their love into things that come back, benefit the Shrine and the children. So that's all pretty cool. The events that we've been talking about, are the fundraisers open to anyone?
They're actually open to the public. So we try to advertise as much as possible, but they are open to the public. Anyone can come.
Yeah, and obviously these events that we're talking about is an awful lot of work. Awful lot of work, and I know we can both attest to that. Can you tell us a little bit about the structure of the Zaribah Shrine, and how, as a group, you help to pull this off to help the kids?
The Shrine organization is based an awful lot on Freemasonry, but our organization as a whole is kind of like a little corporation. We do have a board of directors that's headed by the potentate or the chairman of the board. It's a 7-member board that makes financial and operational decisions for our Shrine Center. But at the same time, we have approximately 64 different committee members that are all tasked with assisting with different events, different tasks within the organization, whether it be operationally, whether it be fundraising. There is an awful lot of organization goes in, and as you can contest to, we have an awful lot of great people there that work really hard, and it's all for free.
I have to say that I'm always so proud to share with anyone, that I'm a Shriner, and always eager to share the good work that the organization does, especially with the young folks. Basically, they're our future. Does the Shrine have any programs out there for reaching out to young people and getting them interested in becoming future Shriners?
There is specifically one organization called DMLA, which is an organization of young men 12 to 21 that are involved in civic and community events. They learn responsibility, respect, things that we need in today's society. And in fact, Glendale right here has the largest DMLA chapter in the state of Arizona. And you can get that information off our website. It actually has a link to the DMLA of Arizona. And you can get right to Glendale DMLA's chapter, and it's got a lot of great information. But truly, the future of the Shrine is in those DMLA boys.
The future of everything's always comes back to our young kids, obviously.
Yes, it does.
People call the local Shrine if they have any of young folks interested in getting involved.
You can call 602-231-0300. They can get you in contact with any of the younger groups, as well as any of the groups within the Shrine. We also have Freemasonry also sponsors some young lady organizations. The Job's Daughters and Rainbow Girls are here in Arizona as well.
Yeah, I know this pretty much has been about the Shriners, but obviously to be a Shriner you have to be first a Mason, and a lot of people have kind of a skewed idea of what a Freemason is all about. Can you briefly just kind of tell us what the main mission of a Mason is, so people will not think it's all about secret words and secret. Well, we do have secret handshakes. But basically, I mean, you know what I'm saying. The bottom line is the Masons have one purpose, and that's
Masonry again was based upon good men getting together in a fraternal environment of brotherly love, truth, and relief. And it's not a secret organization, it's a private organization. There's nothing secret about it. I can find out anything on the internet today about what goes on within a Blue Lodge. But it really is based upon men who get together in a fraternal setting and learn from each other, as well as help with the community. Every Blue Lodge out there has its own charity they work with. The state of Arizona, the Grand Lodge of Arizona's program is Identichild, and they go throughout the state of Arizona doing the little identification packages for kids, and it's all free of charge. And so Freemasons around the world all have charities, and it really is based upon the fraternity and brotherly love.
Yeah, one of the stories that I always loved hearing was back during the Great Depression, and I'm not talking about the recession we just went through, the Great Depression back when my father was a child, is that there was 3 churches in downtown Phoenix that were all trying to put on food lines. And what they would find is one day all 3 of them would be trying to serve food, and the next day nobody would be serving food. And somebody came up with the idea to go literally across the street to the lodge, and ask the Masons, would you guys kind of be like our center point for all the churches? We'll give you the food, and you guys go ahead and just take care of it. And by the 3 churches working with the Masonics at that time, they were able to provide food every day during the Depression, which I just love that story. It's the thing I always think about the Masons is it's a group of guys trying to help a man become a better man. You take a decent man, you help him become a better man, and that's the thing that I've always really enjoyed about it. And the guys that I know are are really nice people, really good people. And a lot of the lodges that I've attended, you know, they have the things to help the children in schools and books and Christmas programs and pantries, and you know, it just goes on and on and on as far as the charitable work that they do. And these are the people that work on your cars and work for the state, and doctors and attorneys and all sorts of different people, but all have one common belief, and that's trying to help people to make their lives better. So, and that carries on through the Shriners also. Well, anyway, our time's about up, and I'd like to thank you for taking time to come and share with some of the residents of Glendale who the Shriners are, how we serve the local community. And one more time for the folks watching at home, if you're interested in becoming a Shriner, if you know a child that may benefit from medical services provided by the Shriners hospitals, or if you want more information about upcoming events and fundraiser opportunities that we discussed today. Ed, can you again share that number, the phone number again?
The phone number is 602-231-0300.
All right. Ed, thank you so much for being my guest today, and I certainly appreciate the work that you do. And you know, we know you as the potentate. A lot of people would always refer to you as the Grand Poobah, but you know, your heart's in the right place, and the service that you give our community is incredible. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks again for watching. See you next time on Glendale Today.